Hello, everyone, and welcome to
The Pro Show
with Colin and Jacob. I'm Colin.
As always, I'm Jacob.
And we are going to guide you through the world of Battle for Zendikar Limited, which is all of Battle for Zendikar, really. Just in the draft format, you might be playing at your local game store or online.
For a sealed format for pre-release, too.
Yes, which hopefully this will be out before then. If not, tough titties. All right, moving on. We have covered white and blue so far, and now we're moving into green. We've seen some really cool cards in the form of Awaken, in the form of Eldrazi Ingesters and Processors. So who knows what kind of things we'll see in green.
And we're moving away from the Wooburg color progression, too, so hopefully we didn't throw you for a little loop there.
Yes. Yes, we are kind of mixing things up here.
Because, I actually really like green in this set, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yes, so without further ado, here we go. This is green. We're going in alphabetical order. So pull up a deck list or a card list and follow along, or just listen to this and we will explain everything. So sit back, relax, kill all your friends and family. No, I'm just kidding about that last part.
Such a joker, Colin.
Here we go. First up, we have Beast Collar Savant. One colorless and one green. It's a 1/1 creature. This is a rare. This is an elf shaman ally.
Another ally.
It has haste and the ability tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell. This card is pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
It's an ally, which has a lot of support this set. When it comes into play, if you have any rally effects, it will trigger those. It's got haste, which means that it can tap for mana the turn it comes into play. If you're playing it on turn 2, that probably doesn't really matter, because there's not a lot of 1-drops, except for your Kitesail Scout.
Yeah. You really want to be ramping into.
Yes, that's very true. But this card, in all seriousness, in an ally deck, this lets you play more expensive allies and more colors of allies. I don't think there's any convert... Oh, there is a converge creature, and we will get to it. The odds of you getting both this and that converge creature are pretty low, since they're both rares. However, this card is definitely worth first picking in a lot of situations, because it will open you up to allies. If you're in allies, you're going to want this.
So I compare this in my mind to something like Whisper of the Wilds or Leaf Gilder. So I just kind of discount the fact that it's an ally. I don't think that ramping is what you want to do as an ally. You really just want to curve out as much as possible. There aren't any allies, as far as I know, that cost... There's a 6-drop ally, I believe, but it's also not the best ally. We'll get to that later. It's in green. But for the most part, allies are like 2, 3, 4. You just want to play them like you would play in Origins. And Beast Collar Savant really doesn't help you reach those allies that you want to reach. But moving on into the mana dork that really is. This, I really like it, because unlike something like Leaf Gilder, if you hit it on turn 7, it immediately taps your mana. It's never just a dead 2 for 1 for a turn. So you can immediately play it and then play something else if you want to, using that mana.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's essentially a 1-drop at that point.
Yeah, it's a 1-drop at that point.
It also, we still haven't gotten to colorless. We will get there. This card will enable you to ramp into much bigger cards. If you have any inclination at all that you're going to be playing a huge Eldrazi, this card will go in your deck, because those things cost a lot, and sometimes you can't play 8 lands. You're going to need someone like Beast Collar Savant to help you out.
So something that concerns me with playing a Beast Collar Savant draft with either Converge cards or a big Eldrazi is that it's a rare. You're not going to see very many of these.
You might never see one.
Yes. Either the cards I'd never see in an Origin draft, you might just never see this. But if you do see this in drafts, it's very unlikely you're also going to see this with one of the rare or mythic Eldrazi that you really want to be ramping into.
Probability is a little low on that. Doesn't make it impossible, just means it's a little lower. I still think this card is nice, because having 1 mana of any color to spend on casting creatures is useful. I said first pick earlier. Maybe I'll scale that back. I still think this is one of the first picks. I don't know if it's necessarily 1. It could be 2, 3, or 4. But if you see this card, pick it up, because no matter what deck you're building, you'll have creatures in it, and you'll want to cast them, and you'll want to fix your mana. And this guy does it all.
So I rate this a little bit higher than I would something like Leaf Gilder, or Whisper of the Wilds. Just because it can add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, which is just great. It doesn't only fix your forests; it also fixes for whatever other color you're playing.
Yeah. When would you pick this?
This is a consideration for a first pick. I would pick bombs. I would pick removal over it. But if there's not really anything that I want in either of those, then I pick this card.
All right, great. Beast Collar Savant, good card. Moving on. We've got Blister Pod. This is 1 green for a 1/1. This is an Eldrazi drone creature. It is a common. It has Devoid. When Blister Pod dies, put an Eldrazi Scion creature token on the battlefield. I guess since this is a new color, we should mention that Eldrazi Scions are 1/1 colorless creature tokens, and they have the ability that you may sacrifice them to add 1 colorless to your mana pool. So they're good for ramping. They're nice little weenies that can get in for 1. They're chump blockers. They're very versatile. There's cards that pump them. There's cards that can give them new modes to be sacrificed. So this card, it's a 1/1 that replaces itself with a Scion when it dies. This is a card meant for sacrifice archetypes, but you have to keep in mind 1 mana 1/1s usually aren't the type of cards you want to play in draft.
Yeah, so something that you can sacrifice basically twice is what this is. It's not going to do anything relevant to the board state ever. It's not a ramp card because it has to actually die before an Eldrazi Scion appears on the battlefield. So something that that's only good for sacrificing. And for that reason, I probably would never. I probably would not draft this unless it was very, very late in the pack.
Yeah, or you have so much set up to sacrifice that, you have Bone Splinters, you have Altar Reaps. We'll get into those in the black cards. If you have, 4 or 5 of those, then Blister Pod starts looking a little better. But for the most part, if you're not in the archetype, this is pack 1, you're not sure, do not pick this card up. It's not going to do enough, or really almost anything for you.
Yeah, so we're going to get into sacrifice effects. Later in green, there's also some in black. It's a very powerful archetype. This is still just a 1 mana 1/1. If you need to replace yourself another 1/1. There's other cards in those 2 colors that can create Scions to sacrifice. I don't think this is a particularly good card for the archetype, and it really only fits in that 1 archetype.
No. Yes, this is a very combo-specific card, and combos are very tricky to pull off in draft. You have to have a lot of things go your way. So don't pick this card with the best intentions in mind. Yeah, it might work 1 in 10 times, but
I may play this card sometimes, probably as a 22nd or 23rd card in a black-green sacrifice deck.
Yeah. At the very least, it can block something twice. Okay, next card, Brood Monitor. This is 4 colorless, 2 green. This is a 3/3 creature. Uncommon, it's an Eldrazi drone with Devoid. When it enters the battlefield, you put 3 Eldrazi Scion on the board. So this is 6/4, putting 6 power and toughness on the board, and 3 of those are Eldrazi Scions, which are quite nice.
Yep, this is great.
This
is a great card.
Solid card. Pick it if you're in an open pack 1, pick 1. Nothing jumps out at you. This would. If you've got a couple bomby cards like Brood Monitor, if you like green, go into this. That's really the main factor, because this is a good card. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better than any of the other bombs, your Drowner of Hopes, etc., but this will put 3 tokens into play, and that is really nothing to be laughed at.
So even though this card is great value, and you should be taking it highly, this is also not the 6-drop you want to be curve topping with. This card accelerates you into something greater. The Brood Monitor itself is only 3/3. Even though it puts 6 power and 6 toughness on the board, there's only the biggest creature is 3/3. It's not something you're going to be attacking with and win the game with.
Not by turn. Well, not by the time you're playing this.
Yeah.
3/3 won't do enough.
Yeah. This is really more of a defensive card, so you can ramp into something even better. And there are a bunch of options for ramping into something even better in this set. Mm-hmm. Just don't mistake Brood Monitor for a finisher.
Yeah. It is very good. Pick it highly. Just don't expect it to do all the work for you, because it sets up for things that like Jacob said, are bigger and better.
All right, I feel like we're just flying through these cards.
Yeah.
What's next?
I feel like we've taken a really long time with some of them. Next is Broodhunter Worm. This is 3 colorless, 1 green. This is a 4/3 vanilla creature. It's a worm. It is common. This is a 4 for a 4/3 in green. This is a card you'll play. You won't pick it highly. It's a vanilla. What's there to say about it? 4 for 4/3 is fine.
No particular synergy, but it's a reasonably costed creature that puts pressure on your opponent. It's something that I will play if I get in every single green deck. I don't see myself not playing a Broodhunter Worm. It's just so reasonably costed that it's going to work.
Yeah, 4 power is nothing to scoff at on turn 4.
Yeah, it's just not very exciting.
No, it's certainly not.
What's next?
Well, Jacob, next we have Call the Scions. It is 2 colorless, 1 green. It's a devoid sorcery. It is a common. And, as its name suggests, you put 2 Scions into play. This is 3 mana, 2 Scions. It puts less mana on the board than it takes to cast it, but at the same time, Scions are more valuable than just the mana they produce. They're 1/1s. 3 mana for a 2/2, or 2 power, 2 toughness. That's Grey Ogre. That's considered the standard for vanilla, so this is fine. And then it's got the upside of it being 2 creatures that can be sacrificed for mana or better.
Yeah, so if you look at the card Dragon Fodder that was in the previous 2 sets, Origins and Dragons of Tarkir, that's been a card that's always been playable, but it's never been, particularly great.
Mm-hmm. And this costs 1 more.
This costs 1 more Dragon Fodder, but the tokens you put on have a small upside. Whether that upside is worth the extra mana cost is really tricky to evaluate. I'm not sure. I can't be confident that I'll ever get this right, even after drafting this a lot. My instinct is that no, it's not really worth it. The extra 2 ramp, you could probably do something a little bit better.
Well, let's say you play this on turn 3. You hit a 4th land drop. This lets you play up to a 6 mana card on turn 4, which is pretty nice.
That's pretty good.
But that is also best case scenario for this card. I think we'll see some more cards that can really make use of Scions here. I think if you have those cards, this one becomes better. This is definitely kind of a mid-pack pick. This is not your first pick. This probably won't see the last pick because these Scions are valuable. Don't get us wrong. They are nice. But this isn't the haymaker that is going to make your deck superb. This is just a card that you put in your deck that you can always count on playing and having it be at least doing something.
Yeah, really, this is just okay ramp.
Yes.
And if you want a lot of ramp, then this is probably going to go in your deck.
Yes, and if you want Eldrazi ramp, like specifically Scions, then this becomes even better. So there's a series of checks you have to make. Do I want a ramp? Yes, this card gets better. Do I want Eldrazi Scions? Yes, this card gets better. If you don't want either of those things, this card is still playable, just not amazing.
Yeah, you're not going to be winning the game when you play this card.
No,
this is going to be setting up for something else that hopefully wins you the game, but you play this on turn 3, you're taking a tempo hit.
Yeah. Next we have Earthen Arms. This is 1 colorless, 1 green. This is a sorcery. It's a common. Put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. 2 mana.
It's target permanent.
Oh, target permanent. Yes. Very good distinction because the second thing on this card is that it has Awaken 4 for 6 colorless, 1 green. That's 7 total. You get to put 4 1/1 counters on a land you control. And if you decide to Earthen Arms it, you actually get a 6/6 land creature for 7.
Yeah, so a 6/6/7 land creature is probably not what you want to be doing with this card.
No.
But it's sorcery speed, so it's not going to be an effective combat trick. I think this card is okay.
If you're in the Awaken deck, I could see this being used to either make your early Awaken creatures stronger, because let's say you're at turn 5 or 6, you've just started awakening things, you don't want to spend 7 on this one, you can awaken it. Or, preemptively, you can put counters on something you're planning on awakening later, because then it's already got the counters. Awaken gives haste. This is going to mean you get 2 damage down the line.
Awaken does not give haste.
It does give haste.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's nice for the judges out there, but yeah. So putting 2+1/+1 counters on a target land I control is probably also not what I want to be doing with this with this card. So, and also you're not going to be an awakened deck if you're playing green. You're not going to want to splash this card. It's just kind of a weak common. But then again, this is going to give you a pretty... On turn 4 or 5, it's going to give you a creature that's difficult to answer. On turn 7 or 8, especially if you're in green, so you have some ramp available to you. On turn 7 or 8, this is going to give you two creatures that are difficult to answer. One that you put counters on, and one that you awaken. And that's, for 7 mana, that's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and if you're going like white-green allies, you can make your Kite Sail Scout get in for 3 on turn 2. So, yeah, that's really good. That's what you want to be.
A 3-power flyer on turn 2 is exactly what it's the best case scenario for spending 2 cards on. So,
all right, next.
What are we up? What are we up on?
We have Eyeless Watcher. This is a Watcher with no eyes. Even though none of the Ulamog cards have eyes, this one specifically is eyeless. Anyway, Eyeless Watcher, 3 colorless, 1 green. This is a 1/1. It's an Eldrazi drone. It's a common. It is devoid. When it enters the battlefield, you put 2 Scions into play. So this is the Scion sorcery spell for 1 more that just drops a 1/1 that does nothing.
Yeah, so this is the Kozilek's Predator balanced version.
Yes, this is not a 3/3 like Predator was. Well, I guess technically it is, because you're putting 3 power and 3 toughness on the field for 4.
Kozilek's Predator put 5 toughness on the field.
That's true, but only 3?
Only 3 power.
Yeah, this card, I don't know how to feel about this yet, because I don't know how important ramp will truly be in this format.
I'm always skeptical of 4 mana ramp spells. Because 4 mana is not really where you want to be ramping. You want to be ramping early in the game, and then you want to be casting 7 mana spells that win you the game. 4 mana is this really kind of awkward middle point where I guess you want to cast an Eyeless Watcher, it's fine.
Yeah, another pro, I wish I could remember which one, was saying that anytime you're paying 4 mana for a 1/1, things are kind of going weird.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. A 1/1 that can be taken out by pretty much anything. This card, it puts Scions on the field. That's probably, that is its function. I don't know if that makes it worth paying 4 for. I do think it'll see play because you need playables to build a deck. I think this is certainly playable. I'm not impressed by this.
I will probably play this card in a green ramp deck, but I won't be particularly happy about playing it.
Yeah.
It'll be my 17th to 20th card.
Yeah, this is just the definition of a mediocre card. And this chance that this card actually performs a lot better than we're thinking. Again, Scions are so important that something that makes 2 might just be valuable enough in and of itself. But our assessment, not great. Moving on. We have From Beyond.
Oh, this is one of my favorite cards.
All right, this is also one of my favorite cards. It is an enchantment. It costs 3 and 1 green, 4 total. It is a rare, meaning there's a chance you will never see it, or there's a chance you might see 2. I think that's where rares top out in a draft pool. It's devoid. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a Scion onto the battlefield. Already totally playable.
If it would be playable if it... Okay.
Yeah, it'd be playable if it was a 4-mana enchantment that puts 1/1s onto the battlefield every turn.
That's true.
However, it also has this extra mode, which is really cool. Tap a colorless, tap a green, 2 total, and then sacrifice From Beyond. You get to search your library for an Eldrazi card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. So, this is a card that puts a 1/1 onto the field every turn. Already, that's fine. But these aren't just 1/1s. These are Scions. These can be sacrificed for mana, which is even better. And then, when you've used your Scions for whatever purposes, are you sacking them? Are you attacking with them? Are you using them for mana ramp? If you're using them for mana ramp, you can use this card, you can sacrifice it and tutor up your finisher. You can tutor up any card. You might have an Ulamog on the bottom of your library, and you can get it in your hand and play it because you have so many friggin' Scions on the board because of this card. This is a great card.
So I love this card, but it's mostly for the first ability where you put a 1/1 Eldrazi on the field every single one of your upkeeps. This is a great effect.
Also,
it's going to win you a game right there.
Yeah. Also, good to know that really there's almost no enchantment hate in this set. We talked about Felidar Cub in our white review, and that's the only thing we've seen so far. And we've done all of white and all of blue. I'm sure green will have something somewhere, but this is going to be in limited. There will probably never be an answer for this card that you run up against.
So, my impression is that if you play this card and you just get to churn out 1/1s all the time, just every upkeep, your opponent is not really able to attack through those 1/1s. There's no need for you to ever sacrifice this and get an Eldrazi. So if you get to the point where you have multiple 1/1s on the board and your opponent can't break through them, you're going to win that game just by drawing cards and churning out more 1/1s. The sacrifice for a tutor for an Eldrazi is not something I think is actually bad. I think it's something that you want to
have to get rid of this card.
You have to get rid of this card that's pumping out infinite creatures.
This card, I mean, it's not ideal to do it, but like I said, if you got this and you got Ulamog, I feel like that might be the situation in which you would sack this to find it.
So, we're talking, this is limited though, so your opponent's probably not going to have Ulamog and also a rare that perfectly synergizes with Ulamog.
Right. But it also makes it removal proof. If they try and destroy it with Felidar Cub, you can be like, fine, on tutor of 4/4.
You can replace it if they try to destroy it with Felidar Cub, that's true.
The reason why this card is good isn't the tutor effect, it is the 1/1s.
It's the Bitter Blossom.
Yes, it is. It's arguably, it's a totally different card from Bitter Blossom.
It's worse than Bitter Blossom, I would say.
Because Bitter Blossom costs 2, this costs 4. You don't lose life to it, but losing life is not a really big
to our listeners, I would recommend first picking Bitter Blossom over From Beyond.
Yes, if those two cards end up in the same pack, take the Bitter Blossom and...
and don't tell anybody.
Don't tell any... Keep it arctic secret. Okay, but first pick this card also.
Oh yes, this is an easy first pick.
If you open From Beyond, do a little dance, high five the people around you, just be insufferable because you just opened the 3/0 card. Anyway, next we have Giant Mantis. It's 3 colorless, 1 green. This is a 2/4 insect creature. This is a common with reach.
It's a vanilla creature that's overcosted. It has no particular synergy. I don't want this card.
Yeah, this card, it stops flyers, but this isn't really Origins where there's a bunch of 1/1 Thopters flying around.
It stops Mist Intruder, I guess.
It stops Mist Intruder.
When it's already exiled multiple cards.
Yeah, and it stops the Eldrazi Sky Spawner. I think that's its name.
This may be a sideboard card if your opponent's in that blue flying thing, but...
Yeah. It's not exciting. 4 for a 2/4 in green isn't where green should be. It's got reach, which is kind of a nice niche ability, but reach isn't a very big deal in this format. So you'd be better off, as Jacob said, keeping this in your sideboard, where it belongs.
And I think this is actually a playable sideboard card. This is something that, if you see this with 4 cards left in the pack, you're not going to be hate drafting. You're going to be taking this for your sideboard.
Yeah. Because if they do have a bunch of flyers and you need to stop them, this card will do that. It's just, if they don't have flyers, then this card won't do anything.
It's a bad main board card.
Yes. Alright. Don't pick this highly. Pick it later near the end. Keep it in your sideboard, but don't forget about it. Alright, next we have a Mythic. Very interesting. This is the Green Warden of Marasa. 4 colorless, 2 green. This is a 5/4 elemental creature. It is mythic. When it enters the battlefield, return a card from your graveyard to your hand, and when it dies, you may exile it and return a card from your graveyard to your hand. This is a 3-for-1. It is very good.
Yes, this is great, and it's so great that they priced it in mythic, and you're never going to see it in draft.
Yes.
But if you do see it in the drafts and somebody hasn't taken it already, you should probably take it.
Yeah. Getting stuff from your graveyard to your hand, anything from your graveyard to your hand, lands, spells, creatures, anything. It's just great. And you get to do it twice. It's an enter the battlefield effect, not an uncast, so a counterspell really makes this card not very good, but that's what counterspells do.
Don't run into a counterspell.
Yeah, my advice when playing Green Warden of Marasa, do not run it into a counterspell. Other than that, first pick this.
That's why they call us a pro show.
Yes.
It's because we give some pro advice like that.
You're going to win if you... Hey, actually, you know what? If they have a bunch of blue mana open, play something else.
You heard it here first from the pros.
The pros. Infuse with Elements.
That's our next card.
Is the next card. Yes, I wasn't just saying that because I love saying it. No, I was reading a card called Infuse the Elements, which is 3 colorless and 1 green. It is an instant, it is uncommon, and it has Converge.
Another Converge card.
Put X/1/1 counters on target creature, where X is the number of colors spent to cast the card. That's the Converge mechanic. So at best, this is a 4-mana instant that...
Oh, you actually left out the most important part here.
Oh, that creature gains trample until end of turn.
Yes, and that
actually makes this card significantly more interesting.
So I like my combat tricks that have an added bonus to them, like trample.
Yes.
Having said that, I think +3/+3 in trample for 4 mana is overcosted and probably not playable.
It is a permanent +3/+3.
That is true. It's a permanent +3/+3. If you're able to cast this for 3 mana, there may have something to it.
Yeah, and then also 4/1/1 counters for 4 isn't terrible.
Let's not go there. Let's keep it reasonable.
All right, reasonably, you're probably only going to be playing this for 3 colors, and that's fine. I think it's a one-off in a green deck.
If in a green deck that also has multiple ways to get a 3rd color, you could probably play this.
Yes, and the green probably does that better than other colors. This card. It actually, I was going to say it's not going to win you the game, but this card actually has the potential to do that. If you hold on to it for long enough and you can get them to chump block with the Scion and you just trounce them with this card, that's going to feel really good.
Cards that give you trample can actually literally win the game for you.
Yes, because that's how trample works. Yes. Moving on. Jadi Offshoot. This is 1 green. It is a 0/3 plant. It's uncommon. It's a defender, meaning it can't attack. And it has the landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. Now, my first thought is this card isn't playable.
Yes, I'm glad that we don't have to read the name very much because we're just not going to be playing this in any deck.
Yes, Jadi Offshoot, gaining a life, best case scenario, you're playing a land every turn, you're getting a life every turn. Probably don't have a lot of 1-drops, so this is that, but if this is anywhere other than in your opening hand, it's not good. And even if it's in your opening hand, it's not good. So
I would rather play basic land.
Yes.
I'm just going to say, that's just where his card's at.
Yeah. It can't block Kitesail Scout either. So
no. It loses the battle of the 1-drops.
Yes. Alright, here we go. This is Lifespring Druid is the next card. 2 colorless, 1 green. Total of 3. It's a 2/1 Elf Druid. It's a common, which is actually quite nice.
Yes.
I hadn't considered that before. You may tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Period. Done. So this is... Mana dorks have gotten kind of more expensive. This is no Sylvan Caryatid, that's for sure. However, in Limited, at Common... This is a pretty reliable way to fix your mana for things like Converge, or just to have more mana. 1 mana of any color is nothing short of good on a creature.
This is a common ramp spell, and so at Common, if you're playing ramp, you're probably going to be playing it. It's not terrible. The days where we're playing Elvish Mystic at Common are long gone. It's never happening again. Lifespring Druid will ramp you. And the body's not going to... his body's going to be pretty irrelevant, I guess. It's never going to attack. It's never going to attack. Your opponent's probably not going to be attacking you with 2 toughness creatures. But, it's a fine ramp spell.
And when I see this card, This is the Converge enabler. This is the one that does it. We talked about the Beast Collar Savant as another mana dork. He's a 2-cost. Can add any mana of any color to your mana pool, except that's for creatures only. This, you're free to do whatever you want with that mana. You can spend it. You can just let it sit there and drain out at the end of your phase. It's your mana, and you want it now.
It's my mana. I want it now.
So use it to converge and be really happy. Use it to ramp and be really happy. It's a 3-drop, which is like, eh. However, it's the only thing we get, so thank you, Wizards. All right.
Anyway.
Moving on. Murasa Ranger. 3 colorless, 1 green. I feel like I've been saying that a lot. 3 colorless, 1 green. It's a 3/3 creature. This is uncommon. It's a human warrior. It's vanilla, except it's got the landfall ability, which makes it very much not vanilla. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 3 colorless and green. If you do, put 2/1 counters on it. So this card basically frees you from having to draw new cards, because you can play this on turn 4 and get a 3/3, which is fine. And then next turn, if you don't want to play anything, you're saving up to ramp for something, or you don't want to run into a counterspell, you can just play another land and make this a 5/5. And that's fine. 4 mana 5/5, well, I guess it's technically 8 to get to a 5/5. But this is recurable, putting +1/1 counters on it. This card can get very big very quickly, and if your opponent doesn't deal with it while it still has a low enough toughness to be dealt with, if they don't have things like Stasis Snare, which could get rid of it anyway, if they don't get rid of it through burn early, this card is going to be a huge threat to your opponent. And it's all consolidated on one card. You aren't spending more cards to make this one stronger. You are just playing lands, and that's pretty cool.
So one of the things about green in this set is that you don't have a lot of card advantage. Draw cards is not particularly a green thing. Maybe some graveyard interaction, but if you're playing green, you're eventually going to run out of cards. And this is where I really see Murasa Ranger shining. When I play Murasa Ranger on turn 4, I'm probably not following up a turn 5 land to put counters on it. That's kind of weak. Your opponent is probably going to be doing something better on turn 5. But what I do see happening is, if I run out of cards, then all my top decks are now spells. Murasa Ranger just says, no matter what happens, you're going to be able to impact the board this turn. And that's worth having the Hill Giant body. That the Hill Giant body is not terrible. Having upside, this kind of upside, I think makes it playable.
Yeah.
It's uncommon. It's probably common power, but
it's not first pickable. I think this is a case where uncommon is because they didn't want you to have too many of them, because these cards don't stack very well.
That's true.
Having 2 of these in play, it's not really great because it's getting to 8 mana. It's starting to really push.
You probably don't want 2 of these.
No, but you definitely want one of them, and you definitely want to pick it pretty early. I wouldn't say first pick. There's probably going to be better things to pick. But this is a good card, and we haven't really talked about this yet in green. If you get past this card, it's a really good sign that green's open. This is the kind of card green wants, because, as Jacob said, green doesn't really draw a lot of cards. We don't have any Elvish Visionaries in this set. We're not drawing cards. So when you're only drawing, you're at 0 cards or 1 card, 2 card, and you're drawing, getting a land becomes better.
Yeah, we're not doing the whole Den Protector thing here in this set.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Next card is Natural Connection. 2 colorless, 1 green. This is an instant. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. This is a rampant growth is a sorcery speed, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
This is an instant speed rampant sorcery for 1 more.
Yeah, and
Rampant
so I
growth.
consider this. It's kind of a ramp spell, but I consider this a combat trick. I consider this as a combat trick because it triggers.
Yes.
It triggers landfall for every single creature that has landfall on your side, and it's an instant speed. So you can play this, trigger landfall during combat, and you can blow your opponent out. If you have a couple landfall creatures, especially with the ability to stack, not just your creature gets first strike, but your creature gets +2/+2. That does stack with a normal land on your turn plus natural collection. Factual connection.
Yeah.
So
this is a way to trigger landfall at instant speed, which is going to be very important for landfall decks. We haven't quite seen all the pieces come together yet in our set reviews, but they will, and natural connection being at common means that there are reliable ways to trigger landfall at instant speed, and that's going to be very nice.
Yeah, and landfall deck looks like it's one of my favorites in the set. So we're going to be, I can assure you, we're going to be seeing some more landfall cards come our way.
Yeah. Speaking of, although arguably you would not want to play this in pretty much any deck, the next card is Nissa's Renewal. It is 5 colorless and 1 green. This is a rare sorcery. It has the rules text. Search your library for up to 3 basic land cards. Then, put them on the battlefield, tapped, shuffle your library, gain 7 life. Boy, you want to cover this one?
So, this is not a combat trick like Natural Connection was. This is a straight-up ramp spell. You know, if you're playing a 6-mana spell, then the time has already gone for triggering your landfall abilities. But as expensive as this is, and it's as expensive as it is, it's still gaining you 7 life.
Yes, that is the only thing making this card playable is the fact that it will recover you from the beating you will take trying to play.
So you play this card for 6 mana. You do nothing to affect the board state. Your opponent attacks you. They do a lot of damage to you, but that 7 life should keep you alive.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you can play a 9 or a 10 mana spell.
Yeah, I mean you can play Ulamog next turn if you have another land in your hand.
That's a dream right there.
Yeah, but also you trigger landfall 3 times. It's not the worst thing in the world.
At sorcery speed, though, it's not going to be a combat trick. This means that just changes the whole outlook on it. Yeah,
you can't surprise anyone with it. But there's still, there's the red landfaller with Trampler that, this card, it's really not that valuable. It'll still get picked up pretty early because it's rare, and rare is attractive. But this isn't a great card.
This is a rare that supports other rares, and those are always tricky to take.
Yeah, I would definitely say pick it up before someone else does, but not over anything that will actually win you the game.
You need a big card that wins you the game before you take this card.
Yeah.
Speaking
of that, this next card is Oran Reef Hydra. 4 colorless, 2 green, it's a total of 6, for a 5/5 Hydra. This is a rare, it has trample, and it has landfall. Much like every other Hydra that gets printed in every gosh darn set, when you play, well, not the landfall per se, but when you play a land, you get to put a 1/1 counter on it, and if that land is a forest, you put 2 1/1 counters on it instead. So this card turns 6, you get a 5/5 Trampler, then you play Nissa's garbage and turns into search for 3 forests, and suddenly you've got a 11/11 Trample on turn 7. However, that'll never happen. This card, though, is still great on its own, and limited. This card will win you the game. If they don't immediately spend removal on it, which might be tricky because they've been removing your 4 drops and your 5 drops on the way up. If you can play this card and untap with it, play a forest, it's just so good.
Yeah, this is the kind of finisher you want in green. This is a 5/5 Trampler that's only going to get bigger. This will rival the big Eldrazi in size by the time those get cast. So this is a first pick.
Yeah, it's a really cool card. Take it. Next, we have Oran Reef Invoker. This is colorless and a green for a 2/2. It's a human shaman. It's a common shaman. And as all invokers have since Scourge, which is the first set invokers, and I'm sure you know that, Jacob.
Of course, I'm a Magic pro.
Yes. Oran Reef Invoker. You tap 8 colorless. Oran Reef Invoker gets +5/+5 and gains trample until end of turn. This card, it's interesting in that It's a bear as vanilla, which we've decided in this set probably isn't worth. In Origins, a bear is great. In Battle for Zendikar, a bear is not where you want to be. However, when you get to 8 mana, which is tricky, you can tap that and it becomes a 7/7 trampler basically every turn.
Or you can activate it for 16 and make it a 12-fold trampler.
Yes, or you could activate it for 16 for more,
or
one more than an Emrakul.
Actually, or even a 24. But let's.
All right, let's
stop before we get a little bit too unrealistic here.
Yes. I think 1 is probably going to be enough for you. Chances are, you play games with this card in your deck. Let's say you play 20 games. You'll probably activate it once, ever, if that. I really don't see this card doing a whole lot most of the time. Most of the time it's just going to be a bear, it's just going to chump block, but you get 8 mana on the board, it is a 7/7 trampler, and that is just fine.
So, bear's not really where you want to be in the set, but you still probably want 1 or 2. This isn't Origins where you want 8. You still want 1 or 2 though. And if I'm playing a ramp deck where I can reasonably get up to 8, I can expect to do that. This is the bear I want to play. This is the best bear that I can possibly play. And so for that reason, if I'm already in a ramp deck and I see this in my draft in a pack that's passed to me, I'll probably take it. It's a mana sink in case, maybe they answer your big Eldrazi with their own, or yours gets killed for some reason. This is a repeatable effect that makes your Invoker very big. And it's a bear that's relevant late game. That's good.
And if it was just give itself 5/5, it really wouldn't be very good. But the trample, we mentioned it earlier, trample wins games. It makes it so chump blocking doesn't really matter that much. They have to put enough toughness in front of this thing to not be killed by it.
Yes. We're going to talk about this particular card more when we talk about Eldrazi's, but I don't know. Do you remember Ulamog's Crusher from both Rise of the Eldrazi and Modern Masters? Mm-hmm. That was an 8/8 for 8. That could be chump blocked by a token every turn. And that's basically what it said. 8/8 for 8, this gets chump blocked. And for that reason, I really didn't like it.
Well, it also had Annihilator, which was pretty fair and
had
balanced.
Annihilator 2, right? Yeah, I love playing against Annihilator. But yeah, the trample really makes a huge difference when it comes to closing games.
Yeah, good card. Well, no, it is a fair card. You will want one of maybe even 2 in your deck.
I played 2 of these in a green ramp deck.
Yeah. Next card, we have Plated Crusher. Now this card is green heavy. It is 4 colorless and 3 green. It is a beast. It is 7/6. It is uncommon, and it has trample and hexproof. This is called trying to think of something clever. No, this just wins your draft. Like, put this in your deck. It's a 7/6 trample, already good. Hexproof just means the only reason it would ever die is if you sacrificed it, I suppose, or they played that white destroy all non-land creature spell.
Or they quadruple block it.
Yes. This card is, I hate to use this tired old phrase, but bananas! It is crazy good. It is so good. This is better than most rares. It's 7 mana to cast it, so you might not always survive to cast it, but you ramp into it on turn 5 or 6. This card is so good. It will just be a threat that has to be answered, and really it can't because it has hexproof. The only way they're going to beat this card is if they put like 2 or 3 or 4 cards sacrificed to it.
I'm not sure. How much Death Touch is there in this set? I remember there's a blue-black Eldrazi for 2 that has Death Touch. But that's the only one I can actually remember.
Yeah, I guess we'll
find out.
See more. But other than this card is so good. If you open it, you're gonna want to go into green. The thing is, it costs the smart balance. R&D did a really good job putting 3 green symbols into its mana cost, meaning if you're pretty late in the draft and you're white or something, you can't just splash this. This is not a Sentinel of the Eternal Watch. This is not a card that goes in. You can't jam this into any deck and have it work because you need a way to play it. However, if you are green, if your deck has forests in it, this card will win you the game. Play it. Pick it. First pick it.
So it's not just that you have to be green. It's also you have to be primary green. You have to play, maybe at least 10 forests in order to make this work. This is what you want to be ramping up to in your green ramp decks. Excluding the mythic and sometimes rare Eldrazi, this is the best ramp card. And I'd actually even play it even if I had no ramp.
Yeah,
in a primary green deck,
you can get
seven's just enough on the cusp where you can say, yeah, I'll play this card, and it's powerful enough to do. Yeah,
this is a good card. If you open it, first pick, pack one, take it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be good to you, I promise.
It's uncommon too, so you're gonna be seeing more of those than you want to see.
Yeah. Oh gosh, imagine if someone has 2 of those in their deck. That'd just be obscene.
Yeah.
Don't actually imagine it. It's going to be too painful.
All imagine if you have 2 of these decks.
Oh, yeah. All right. Next card is Plummet. This is a reprint of a very standard card.
It's a classic.
The classic, yes. It's got a colorless. It's got a green. It's an instant. It's common. You destroy target creature with flying. Not a lot of great targets for it in this set, but there are a few. This is a sideboard card. Put one in your sideboard. Rest assured knowing that something with flying will die if you ever get killed by it.
Yes, this is strictly a sideboard card. Don't make deck this card. There's not enough with flying.
Yeah.
But there are flying bombs that this answers. So
yeah,
fine sideboard card.
Yep. Moving on. I love when they're fast. Reclaiming Vines. 2 colorless, 2 green, sorcery, common. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. This is because lands in Battle for Zendikar are going to have some pretty decent effects, this might be main deckable. I still think this is a sideboard card, and not even a very good one. 4 mana at sorcery speed to do this effect. It's just... So every limited set has one of these cards. A 4 mana destroy artifact, enchantment, and land. It's usually a combination of the 2. It's never good. It never wins you the game. It never feels good to play it, but... you might blow up someone's awakened land with this, and then you'll be happy about it.
So 4 mana. So we're limited. Land destruction is not exactly what you want to be doing. 4 mana is just too expensive to be destroying an artifact or land, especially artifact or enchantment, unless
it's from beyond.
Unless their enchantment is from beyond.
Yes, you will sideboard this card, and then when you play the deck with from beyond, you will put this card in your library. When game 2, after you've lost to From Beyond.
Yeah, because you're going to lose to From Beyond.
And then you're going to play this card, and you're going to have the biggest smile on your face because you just hosed the card that they thought was going to win them the game.
You trade your 4-drop for their 4-drop, and you're going to feel so happy about that.
Yeah, gosh. It's not great. Not great.
Anyway, this is a bad sideboard card.
Yeah, moving on. Next up is Retreat to Khazan-dû. 2 colorless, 1 green. This is another in the retreat cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's an enchantment. It is uncommon. And like all the other ones, it's a landfall enchantment. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may choose either to put a 1/1 counter on a creature or gain 2 life. This card is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Every land you play will put a counter on something, or if you're getting burned down by aggro and you've decided to spend turn 3 playing an enchantment, you can start gaining 2 life a turn, which, life gain, it needs to have enough to actually make it useful. So many times, like, gaining 1 life isn't worth it. Gaining 2 life every turn actually does do something.
Yeah. So
however, you probably will want to be playing the 1/1 counters.
Yeah, I feel like this is mostly a 1/1 counter enchantment, unless you have either no creatures or you have creature is just so big that it doesn't matter, and then you probably already won the game. But yeah, this is a 3-mana enchantment that makes your lands into weak spells, but still spells, and that's just good enough for me to play one of them.
Yeah, one of them's great. You get to choose where you put those 1/1 counters, so go nuts. Pick this. Not too high.
Yeah. This is something that I'll just play one of if I have it. Not going to push me into green.
No one's first picking this card. It's like a third or fourth pick card.
Probably a little later than that.
Yeah, because you're gonna want removals and like really good creatures before you pick that card.
Yeah.
It's still pretty good power level though. Don't overlook it for sure. Next card is the Rot Shambler. Colorless and a green. This is a 1/1. It is a fungus. It is uncommon, and it has whenever another creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on it.
This is another card in the sacrifice archetype that exists. And you can the synergy kind of pops out at you with Eldrazi Scions.
Yes, because you have to sacrifice those to use their mana ability, and that pumps this guy.
Yeah.
However, my first thought is that this should have been a 2-mana 2/2, because 2 for a 1/1 with this effect, something has to die before it even hits on curve, which is already not great. But I can see this getting pretty big if you've got a lot of Eldrazi Scions and you're sacking them and ramping into things, and then suddenly this 2-drop, because you didn't have any better things to do on turn 2. Now this 2-drop's actually a threat and needs to soak up a removal spell or chump block or whatever. So I think it's okay. I don't think it's very good though, and I don't think I'd pick it over other things.
Yeah. I agree with you that it's okay. It's not great. It doesn't have a way to protect itself normally. It has no evasion.
Yeah, no shroud.
No shroud, no flying.
It's no Algic Aerial, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you play with Malakir Coldblade from Origins, that card was very mediocre.
Yeah. There's also creatures your opponent controls,
Yeah.
which it's a little harder to control when those die.
Well, I mean, if you have a lot of removal spells with that one, then you can control it.
Yeah, but that was another 2 for a 1/1 that it wasn't good enough. These have to be bears at base, or else
Or they have to have some kind of evasion.
Yeah. So again, put one in your sacrifice deck. Don't put it in any other type of deck.
Not gonna be ever excited to play these.
Yeah, I mean, even if you put it in a non-sacrifice deck, incidentally, it's just like losing creatures to combat and removal it's just not good enough.
All right, next one.
Scythe Leopard. It is 1 green for a 1/1. It is a cat. It is uncommon. It has landfall that whenever you play a land, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
So, modern players are going to be very happy that they got a Wild Nikado reprint.
Yes, and now they can have 8 of them.
Yes. But yeah, this is a 1-mana card. It's going to be, for most of the time that's relevant, it's going to be attacking as a 2/2. Sometimes as a 3/3 if you have the right combat tricks or the right sacrifice lands. So I mean, I consider Natural Collection as a combat trick.
Yeah, Natural Connection, for everyone who can't remember 10 minutes ago, that was the 3-mana instant that lets you put a basic land on the play tapped from your library.
Yeah. So if you have, this is attacks as a 2/2, mostly as a 2, sometimes as a 2/3.
3/3.
As a 3/3. I think this card is good.
Yeah, I think so. I think the landfall deck is really aggressive, and having a turn 1 play like this is good. And unlike pretty much every other 1-drop 1/1 we've reviewed, this one is actually playable.
Yeah.
I mean, besides Kitesail Scout, which is the best card, blah, blah, blah.
Defying the format.
We're so funny because we keep saying that. Yeah, pick Scythe Leopard if you think you're going to go landfall. It's not good in a ramp deck. Well, I guess technically it is.
No, you don't want to be putting on pressure with a ramp deck. You're going to be winning with your 8 Eldrazi and not with the 1/1s.
Yeah. It's just it's an aggressive card. Put it in an aggressive deck. Don't put it in a non-aggressive deck.
Yes.
Case closed.
This goes into red-green landfall deck that we're going to be getting more to as we
get into red and further through this one.
Yes.
And speaking of further through this one, Seek the Wilds is our next card. 1 colorless, 1 green, sorcery, common. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This card gets printed in some form or another every set. It's never exciting. This one lets you get a creature or a land, so there's basically no way you won't hit anything with this unless you have like 4 instants in a row on top of your library, which would be pretty weird.
especially if you're green.
Especially if you're green. It's just I'm not excited by this card. I don't think it's very good.
It's okay. I mean, think of it like a sorcery seed anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
If you're anticipating, you're either getting a creature in limited or you're getting a land if you need a land. This is a sorcery seed. Sorcery speed anticipate looks for one more card.
Yeah.
And that sounds great. That's because we are very high anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
But sorcery speed is a huge.
It's a big downside because that's what you're doing on your turn.
You can hold up both your counterspell and anticipate.
Yeah.
Or counterspell and seek the wilds.
Yeah. Which you're running together for some reason. Yeah, this card, I mean, one of in a deck, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Pick it if you have to. Don't pick it if you don't have to. That's how that goes.
There you go.
There you go. Next card, Snapping Gnarlid. This card has some pretty interesting art.
Oh, yeah.
I think of all the art in this set, this one is probably the wonkiest.
I'm not really sure what animal it's supposed to be based on.
I mean, no hate to Kev Walker. He's made some of the coolest cards in Magic's history, and for a very long time. But this one is, well, let's stop talking about the art. This audio medium.
Our listeners are very interested in how this card actually performs.
Yes, this card performs. Well, we'll get there in a second because Snapping Gnarlid costs 1 colorless and 1 green. It is a 2/2 beast. It's common. It has landfall that whenever you play a land, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So this is just the bear version of Scythe Leopard.
Yeah, and so this is a good card for an aggressive landfall deck.
Yep. Turn 1, Scythe Leopard. Turn 2, land Gnarlid.
This is basically going to make up the meat of your landfall deck because this attacks as a 3/3 most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we talk about the landfall cards, you know, we've talked about some 7-mana landfall cards, 6-mana landfall cards, and I say, well, you're probably not going to trigger landfall most of the time when you play these. That's not true for these 1 and 2-mana landfall cards.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to actually be triggering landfall most of the turns where these cards are relevant.
Yeah.
And so these cards actually, they attack for more than they're costed for, making it very aggressive and pretty good cards.
Yeah. And this one's printed at common. Scythe Leopard's printed at uncommon because Wizards didn't want a bunch of 1-drops with landfall running around because then you would draft nothing but that. This is a 2/2 for 2. You know, at 2 mana, you're starting to get into turn 3 before it can attack, and there's answers for it, so it's a little more balanced that way. This is still a really strong, really aggressive card. You can attack as a 3/3, sometimes a 4/4. I think you're going to be pretty happy having as many copies of this as you can in your landfall deck.
Yes.
So pick it pretty highly if you know you're going landfall.
This is going to be the meat and potatoes of your landfall deck.
Yes, meat and potatoes.
All right, Colin. What's the next card?
Yes, this card. I have been singing its praises. I'll probably end up being totally wrong, but
I think you're right. So
when I first saw this card, I just was like, oh my god, this is so cool. Enough preamble. This card is Swell of Growth. It is a colorless, it is a green, it is an instant, it is common, and it has the text, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So, not even considering, I mean, the reason why I think this card's cool is because I think it can go into multiple formats, because playing an extra land from your hand is cool. The 2/2 on a creature, it almost seems like that should have been the second thing in the rules text, because it's less important. But that's why I think it's really cool. However, in Battle for Zendikar, in Limited, this is still really cool, because it's 2/2 on a creature, plus it's a landfall trigger at instant speed, and we talked about that with Natural Connection. This is also that for 2 mana, and it does more than just that. It doesn't tutor it from your library, so it is one less card in your hand, but at the same time, you're putting another land on the battlefield. It's untapped. That probably won't be relevant very often, but it could be. It's just such a cool card.
All right, so I want to take you through a thought exercise. Imagine if you have this.
I'm going to close my eyes for this.
Okay, close your eyes. Enter a deep meditative state.
All right, I'm there.
All right, so you are the green landfall drafter, and you go and you have a pretty good aggressive landfall deck.
I'm seeing it.
Your opening hand, you have Scythe Leopard, Forest, Swell of Growth, Snapping Gnarlid, whatever.
Sure. I'm there.
You play turn 1 Forest, Scythe Leopard, pass. Turn 2 Forest, Landfall, attack you for 2, Snapping Gnarly, pass. Turn 3. How much damage are you going to be able to get in with Swell Growth plus another Landfall trigger on both those? So you go Forest, trigger Landfall on both of these.
So that's a 2/2 and a 3/3.
2/2 and a 3/3. You've already gotten in for 2.
You've already
It's
got
2/3 and 3/3.
Yes.
So then you play Swell Growth, trigger another Landfall, so now you have a 3/3 and a 4/4.
That puts 4 more power on the board.
And so plus you have the +2/+2. So now you have a 6/6 and a 3/3. And you've already gotten in for 2. So by turn 3 with this nice start, you've done 11 damage.
Yes.
You have now 4 lands on the battlefield and 2 creatures. I mean, the amount of damage you can get in with this card plus landfall triggers is insane.
Yeah.
This is one of probably the best combat trick that's going to be in the entire set.
Mm-hmm. People are going to be drafting green just because they want copies of this card. Landfall is going to be a really sought after archetype. We talked about the processors a lot in blue, and that's really cool. But it's not as obvious as landfall. Landfall is just like me play lands, me win,
swing with big creatures.
Not to discount any victories with that; it's still totally valid. But
as a red player, I know all about turning things sideways.
Not anymore. Rest in peace, red.
Unplayable.
Unfriggin' playable. No, Swell of Growth is amazing. It is Colin's pick for coolest card of Battle for Zendikar. I'll probably change that pick by the end of the set review. However, when I first saw this card, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe they print this. I mean, imagine in modern Tron players get to play an extra one of their Urza lands on turn 2. It's just... this card is really cool. It might not actually ever see any play other than limited, and I would still really love this card. So, really cool. Nice card.
Just remember, when you play this card, you have to have an extra land in hand.
Yes.
And you have to have landfall creatures on the battlefield. And that's a reasonable setup cost.
There is a setup cost.
That's a setup cost. That's not gonna be true every single game. Because 2 mana for vanilla +2/+2 is not a good card.
Yes. However, also 2 mana to put a land into play from your hand isn't terrible. Maybe it is. I don't know. Land
from the hand is not really the greatest when it comes to ramping. You really want to be putting on lands from
your deck, and then that also thins your deck. Although deck thinning, I think, is overestimated a lot of the time.
It's getting the smallest advantages can.
Yes, but
that can be work out most of the time, but
it still puts the percentages in your favor,
yeah.
Even if it's light, and you want more things in your favor than not. All right, we've talked enough about Swell of Growth.
Swell of Growth is great.
Pick it. I hate to say it, but don't pick it first because you'll want other cards.
You want to support landfall creatures,
Mm-hmm.
so you want those landfall creatures first.
Yeah, but pick 4, pick 5,
pick 6,
pick whenever.
Pick 6 like Richard Sherman.
Ooh. Yeah, go Hawks. Okay,
Hawks.
Next card. Oh boy, we just alienated a lot of people. Sylvan. Oh yes, all the devout football / Magic the Gathering fans who are listening to this podcast right now. Hi. Okay, Sylvan Scrying is our next card. 1 colorless, 1 green. It is a sorcery. It is uncommon. Search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your library. This is another card. It's a reprint, actually. This card has been around. I don't think it's been in standard for quite some time. It's cool. Find a land card, put it in your hand. This isn't really a landfall card. There's a lot of fancy lands in this set. If you have one in your deck, this will get it to you.
I'm not really sure what deck wants this. It's not ramp because
it doesn't actually play the land.
Yeah, so ramp doesn't just play. It still lets you only play 1 land per turn. Landfall doesn't want this because again, it only lets you play 1 land per turn. So, what deck wants a card that just tutors for land? Why would it not just play basic land?
Yeah, this might be a reprint for just the sake of reprinting this card for other formats. Because, like you're saying, it's in limited. This doesn't really have a good space. I mean, it's also sorcery speed. If this was an instant, I think it'd be a little better because then you could, during your opponent's turn, if you've got nothing better to do, then you just find a new land for your hand. It's basically just land cycling for anything.
Mhm.
You know, it's okay. And there are, like I said, there's going to be lands that are like
Yeah.
Manlands or Ugin's Sanctum, or lands that are you'll want to find.
Yeah, this could support some rare lands, but you don't want to be.
No,
You have to have the rare lands,
Yeah.
and then this would also have to be worth it to play rare lands, which you haven't actually agreed on yet.
yeah, this is not the uncommon you want to see, but luckily there'll be 2 other uncommons and a rare when you open your pack. So hopefully you won't get totally hosed.
I hope you open Ulamogs every time.
Yes, me too. I hope everyone I play against has opened an Ulamog. Just kidding. Next card, Tajuru Beastmaster. This is 5 colorless and a green. This is a 5/5 Elf Warrior Ally. It's common. It has the Rally effect. When it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Now this card is the ally finisher, basically.
Mhm.
You play this, you play that white ally converge spell that drops 4 on the board. Suddenly you've just pumped all your allies 4/4. All your creatures 4/4. 4/4. That's good. This is this is where your ally curve ends. This is actually a little above where it ends, but you're still playing it. 6 is feasible. A 5/5 body is totally awesome. You want that. And the rally effect is strong.
And so I think that even if you don't rally ever again with this card, a 6 mana for a 5/5 that anthems your team is a playable card.
Yeah.
This is a common. This is going to be something you're going to see a lot of. It's going to be passed around. It's going to wheel sometimes. This is just a nice card for an ally deck.
Yeah.
It's not great. You're not going to make 6 mana every single game. You're not going to want to make 6 mana every single game.
No, you might want to have the game over by that point.
Yeah, you probably want one of these.
Solid card, not first pickable, not too desirable, but you'll want one in your ally deck.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
This is also not a ramp deck card, by the way. It's a 6 mana card. It has a big body, so
But it doesn't
might think
finish anything.
no, it has no trample, just a 5/5.
Next card, Tajuru Stalwart. 2 colorless, 1 green. This is a 0/1 creature. It is an elf scout ally. It's common. And it's got Converge. It enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. So, at most, this is a 3/4 ally for 3, which is totally fine.
That's great. A 3 mana for a 3/4 that has second trigger rally. That's exactly what I want.
By turn 3, though, if you were trying to play this on turn 3, it could be pretty tricky getting all 3 colors available to you.
So that's where it gets tricky.
That's where your Beastmaster Savant comes in, or Beast Lord Savant, or whatever it was called.
If you play this for 2 colors, then it's a 2 mana 2/3 vanilla.
3 mana 2/3,
3 mana 2/3 vanilla.
which is fine. It's an ally, so
You see, that's just undercosted. 3 mana 2/3 is not really what you want to be doing.
Green. I feel like green. The costs are a little.
Yeah, and if it was a white creature, I'd be like fine.
Yeah.
Green creatures, I want something more. So you have to be in a converge deck for this to work. There's no other. It does not work in any other deck.
And ally does have a lot of synergy with Converge. Well, Ally and Converge do a lot of the same thing, which is play multiple colors. That the white. I wish I could remember the name. It was so long ago that I looked at it. The white Converge spell that costs 4 and puts a 1/1 into play for each.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. This is for the listeners' sake, of course. This card it's okay. I mean, I know we've said it's it can be a 3/4, but I don't think it's gonna be a 3/4 on turn 3. It might be a 3/4 on turn 4, 5. It'll trigger rally.
And if you get 3, and if you can actually get 3 colored sources, I'm fine playing this on turn 5. As a 3/4 for 3, you can hold up an instant or something. It's just a very efficient body if you can cast it for 3 mana. I just, going through these Converge cards, I've been very down on all of them so far, and I guess I'm just not going to. I just have a bias against the Converge deck, but if you think you can draft a Converge deck well, and you think you can get the colored mana reliably, then go for it. This card's going to be great for you. I don't want to discourage people from going against I guess, my preconceived biases.
Yeah, we're giving you our thoughts, our opinions as professionals, but think for yourself. Have critical thought. You might think Tajuru Stalwart's amazing, and you will find out that it is. Or you might think it sucks and find out that it's amazing, or whatever combination of those two. Whatever.
So it's going to be amazing, is what you said.
Yes, what I'm trying to say...
There are only two options
the
here.
The only option is that it's amazing, and that we're both wrong, and it's going to be super amazing.
All right, I'm glad we got that settled.
Yeah, you actually, in all seriousness, you should pick this card if you're going Ally, if you're going Converge. If you know you're going at least 3 colors, this card will do work for you. It's just not very exciting.
All right, what's next?
Next card, more Tajuru stuff. Tajuru Warcaller, 3 colorless, 2 green. This is an uncommon. It's a creature. It's a 2/1. It's an elf warrior ally. It's got rally whenever it or another ally enters the battlefield under your control. Creatures you control get a +2/+2 until end of turn. Now, we talked about the 6-drop 5/5. I think it was also a Tajuru card. Yeah, that was the Tajuru Beastmaster. This has a much smaller body. It's a 2/1 versus a 5/5, but it costs 1 less. And +2/+2 until end of turn is double, +1/+1. So suddenly, I'm going to keep mentioning this every time, that Converge spell that drops 4 white allies onto the battlefield becomes 8/8 until end of turn on all your creatures.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful effect.
This card, if you're running Ally and you see this card, pick it up. You're going to be so happy that no one else has picked it. If you see this card, it means allies are open and you should move in, or you could move in. This is a really, really nice card. It will let you finish the game if you are stalled out. You hit turn 5, you're running out of gas. This card will be your gas. Because you have 4 creatures in play, you play 1 ally, suddenly all your creatures get +2/+2. That's huge. Also, when this comes into battlefield on turn 5, everything you played before gets +2/+2. Plus any other rally effects you have on the board already. This is a nice card.
Yeah, so this is an insanely good effect if you're turning things sideways. So something to remember is that if you're not at the point in the game where you're turning things sideways, this card is a 5-mana 2/1. That's it. That's the entire card.
Yeah.
So if you have to draft a deck around this.
This is a pretty huge. It's like the reward is really big, but the lowest value of this card is so low.
Yeah,
5 for a 2/1 is not good.
Yeah, 5 mana for 2/1, probably the worst card I've ever seen. But so you have to keep this in mind when you draft it. You're not going to be playing any
talking shit about Chimney Imp, dude.
Fucking Chimney Imp. So yeah, you have to make sure that you're turning things sideways if you play this card. Which means that you have to draft a deck where you don't have cards that don't turn sideways. And this sounds pretty simple, but if it can get tricky, especially if your opponent plays something pretty big that you can't just remove or attack through. You have to have other ways to just be able to get around it.
Yeah.
And I guess this goes well with the white cards that just go very wide.
Yeah, I mean, also imagine you are on the draw. Your opponent, you've been playing cards, 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. Opponent hits 5 lands, they wipe the board with planar crush. And then suddenly this is your only card. You have no rally, no allies, you're playing a 5-mana 2/1. This card, you're gonna sing this card's praises and you're gonna curse at this card. This card is fickle. It can either win you the game or it can make you feel like a real piece of shit.
Yeah, so this is a high setup cost. It needs the right deck, but when it's in the right deck, it's great.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a really complex card. You're going to have to use those critical thinking skills we've been teaching you when deciding when to pick it.
Good luck.
Yeah. Next card, Territorial Baloth. I don't know. 4 colorless, 1 green. This is a 4/4 beast creature. It is common. It has the landfall ability that whenever you play land, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This is a higher costing landfall card. It makes it a little less aggressive. It doesn't have trample, but it's still a really big creature.
Mm-hmm.
And this card will do a lot of work. If you have some of those instant speed put lands on the battlefield cards or fetch land or anything like that, suddenly this becomes tricky for your opponent to know when he can block with something bigger or if he's just going to get crushed. So basically every turn you have a land, this will force a block and get a creature.
So this is one of the bigger landfall creatures we've seen so far in this set. And usually, historically, the aggressive draft archetypes would not be excited about playing a 5-mana 4/4.
Yeah, they curve out around 3, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, you can go up to, Origins had the Prickle Boar, Dragons had Sprinting Warbrute.
Yeah, you
but,
can...
Yeah, those all had significant bonuses when attacking.
Mm-hmm.
But with Battle for Zendikar, your aggressive creatures get even better when you're putting lands on the battlefield. Lands are spells when you're playing landfall. And so, if you have a lot of land, you're going to want to spend it on something. And this seems like a fine thing to spend that land on. It's a common, so you're going to be seeing a lot of these. You're probably going to get one if you want one. And I think one of is fine.
Yeah, one of is fine. Territorial Baloth, take one, be happy with it. And the thing is, this can go in the landfall deck. This is going to be your curve topper and the super aggressive. Or if you're just running a green deck, it can be just a fatty creature that you play for 5 mana that can be a 6/6 or sometimes even an 8/8. It's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Okay. Next card. Ooh, this is the Undergrowth Champion. It is 1 colorless, 2 green. This is a 2/2 elemental. This card is mythic rare. This means this should have a pretty high power level. Let's find out.
It means you may see one of these over the entire course of the set if you go down to the local game shop to draft every week.
Yes. If damage would be dealt to Undergrowth Champion, while it has a 1/1 counter on it, prevent the damage and remove a 1/1 counter from it. Well, it's a 3 for a 2/2. It doesn't have any 1/1 counters. You say, well, shut up and let me read the rest of the card. It also has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it. So, suddenly this card is crazy good. It's aggressively costed in the sense that it's 3 for a 2/2. Every time you play a land, it pumps it. Every time they try and hit it with removal, I guess it doesn't have indestructible, so it can still be killed by unconditional removal. It can still be exiled, but you'll never lose this thing in combat. You'll never lose it to a burn spell, because anytime they do damage to it, you simply remove a 1/1 counter from it.
So this is your turn 3 play. And just say we're playing a typical limited game where you also hit lands on turn 4 and 5. If your opponent doesn't remove Champion right the turn you play it, which is turn 3, so it's going to be pretty difficult for him to remove it immediately, Champion just keeps on growing, and you can just regenerate it.
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very difficult for your opponent to actually kill this.
Yeah. Without using one of their very limited removal spells, because this is limited. There's this card, it just makes it, there's such a narrow window for your opponent to take this out, or they have to use one of their really, nice cards to get rid of this.
Or worst case scenario, they actually have to use 2 removal spells to kill this.
And the thing is, it's fine for them to do that. This is a mythic rare, you're going to be sad that it goes, but it only cost you 3. You probably ended up getting some damage in with it. It's a cool card. I like it. And you have to think about what you're doing, because you don't want to just attack into something as a 3/3 and they chump block and down to a 2/2 and then they just blow you up with a spell. You want to actually be kind of considerate about how big you want to get this guy before you're swinging with him. Or blocking with him, or whatever you want to do with him. Good card.
Very good card. First pick it.
Yeah, definitely first pickable. Next, we have Unnatural Aggression. 2 colorless, 1 green. This is an instant. It is common. It is devoid. Not a lot of mono green devoid cards.
No.
Target creature you control fights target creature. An opponent controls. If the creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. This is really cool.
Yeah, this is a very good card.
It's also instant speed, which is interesting. We saw Wild Instincts. Well, there's a ton of fight
Yes.
spells.
Wild Instincts from Origins. You had
Savage Punch.
Savage Punch from Cons. You had Epic Confrontation from Dragons.
Hunt the Weak.
Hunt the Weak from Fate. So we've been seeing a
Yeah.
sorcery speed fight spell that also pumps your guy every single set. And now we have an instant speed that doesn't pump your guy.
It's instant speed. It doesn't pump, but it's 3, which is really cool. This is essentially removal. You'll never... I mean, you... Sometimes, if you have to, like if you're up against an Undergrowth champion, you might have to use this to get a 1 for 2. But for the most part, you will be coming out on top. And it's got the nice, cute little upside that if you kill the opponent you fight, they go into exile, which fuels processors, which we haven't really talked about in green, but go back to our blue video and you will see us singing the praises of the processors.
We will get to a green processor later, but they're mostly in either black, blue, or multicolored. And we covered blue. We've yet to cover the others.
Yeah, I'd be happy having 2 of these in a deck.
Oh, I'd
Almost like 3. Any copy I see I would take because
these can go very, very early. They're just removal.
Really splashable too.
The setup cost is having a big creature, and if you're drafting green, that's a pretty easy setup cost to achieve.
Yeah, it's a nice spell. Play it, pick it.
Yes, this is going to be a very early pick. You're not going to get very many of these.
Yeah.
First pickable.
And now we're going to move on. Oh, look at that. We've finally hit the processor in green.
There we go.
This is the Void Attendant. It is 2 colorless and 1 green. This is a 2/3. It is a processor, Eldrazi processor. It is uncommon, devoid, colorless and a green. This is a mana activated ability. It's colorless and a green, and you process a card, which is putting a card from opponent's exile into their graveyard. You get to put Scion on the battlefield. So to consolidate all that information, this is a 3 for a 2/3. You can tap 2 and process to put an Eldrazi into play. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
It's not in the typical process colors. Processing is more of a blue-black thing, but splashing this doesn't hurt. You're putting Scions onto the battlefield at instant speed. That's nice. That is really nice.
Yeah. This is a nice Scion. This one will ramp you because I guess it just makes more mana for you. There's not really any ingest cards in green. I don't think there are any.
No, we didn't see any. There might be some gold ones, but we'll get to those later.
Yeah, unnatural aggression, exiles. But other than that, this is a card that's going to be relying on you playing either blue or black. So if you are playing blue or black, then it's a very good card. It's just 2/3 for 3 is not exciting, but it has just very good upside.
Yeah.
This may as well just be a gold card when you're evaluating it, though.
Yeah.
You can't. It's hard to first pick because you're locking yourself into another color besides green. But if you already have this energy, go for it.
Yeah. This is one of the better processors, like you said. It's a nice card. Pick it pretty high. Don't pick it super high. It's an archetype card. You need to know that you're going to be in an archetype before you pick it, or else you wasted a pick, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's not better than not wasting a pick. So
I agree with you there.
Yeah, well, I take the controversial stances, like you want to pick cards that are good. Yes. All right. Last card in green.
Card.
And what a doozy it is. This is the Woodland Wanderer. It is 3 colorless, 1 green. It is a 2/2 rare elemental. And you're saying, Colin, 4 for a 2/2 elemental? That doesn't sound very good. Again, shut the fuck up, and let me finish reading this card.
God damn it, listeners.
It's got Vigilance, and it's got Trample. So, Colin, it's a 2/2 Vigilance Trample for 4. Oh my god.
Why stop saying that?
Please stop saying back to me what I've already said. I'm trying to read you this card.
Alright, what does this card actually do?
Alright, it's Woodland Wanderer, 4 mana, 2/2, Vigilance Trample, Converge. When it enters the battlefield, it has a 1/1... I said that really weird. It enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. So, this is a 4 mana, 6/6 Vigilance Trample at best. typically it's going to be a 4-mana 5/5 Vigilance Trample, which either of those modes is very nice. And at worst, it's going to be a 4-mana 4/4 Vigilance Trample, which is still really nice.
This is, even if I only have 2 colors in my entire deck, 4-mana 4/4 Vigilance Trample is first pickable.
Yeah.
That's a good first pick.
Yeah.
If you somehow get a 3rd or 4th color, this is amazing. Yeah. This is something that you'll easily first pick.
If you've got the ramp for it.
You don't need...
Oh, yeah, sorry, not ramp. If you've got the fixing, if you've got the 3-drop elf, if you've got the 2-drop elf, both add color, or any color, 1 for creature, 1 generally.
If you can fetch lands from your library.
If you can fetch lands from your library. This is when Sylvan Scrying becomes super good, because you can see this card in your hand, and you're like, alright, I'll set up for it with spending one of my turns to tutor a land. This card, do everything you can to set up for it, because 6/6 Vigilance Trample for 4 is going to end the game. They're going to have to wait. Like, any creature they play is just going to have to die to it as this thing just crushes through, can block anything except for flying. This is good.
It's only 4 mana too. Like, this is well ahead of the curve of the big Eldrazi your opponent might be playing.
Yeah, you might be up against a deck with Ulamog in it. They'll never get there because you have Woodland wandered through their whole deck. So good. It makes me really happy that we ended green with a card this strong, because this is what green does. They play fat, vigilant tramplers for lower than they ever should, and God bless them for it.
Just love those big Timmy creatures.
Yeah.
Alright, what are your thoughts on green for this set?
Well, my thoughts are, it looks pretty good. We've got some really strong creatures, some really good payoff creatures, like plated, whatever the 7-mana, 7/6. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll find the name. Plated Crusher. The 7 for 7/6 trample hexproof. That's a great card. There's some really cool cards. There's also some really aggressive cards. Green, previously in the past couple limited sets, hasn't been the aggressive color. So it's nice to see kind of a role change for them here. Landfall looks really fun. I mean, you have 40 cards in your limited deck, and every single one of them is a spell with Landfall, and that's really cool and really interesting.
Yeah. So we talked about white and we talked about blue, and what I said after each of those was they both have deep mechanics, but those mechanics clash with each other. You have the white allies plus all the awakened spells, and you don't want those in the same deck. Green here is different, where if you have aggressive landfall creatures, you want to follow those up with the plated crushers, or just the big Timmy creatures. That's the curve topper right there. That's what's going to win you the game. So when you have a green sealed pool, when you look at a bunch of green cards in your sealed pool, they're going to work together. All of them are going to work together, no matter what. And so I think green's going to be a very strong choice if you want to go to your pre-release or a local PPTQ for a seal pool. You're not going to have any anti-synergy in there.
Yeah.
No.
You're gonna have every card you get in green will work with other cards in green. It's very safe to go green. It'll still require a lot of thought and a lot of skill to do well with any color you pick. Green might make it a little easier for you if you're unsure how to make the archetypes work, which we all should be at this point anyway.
But okay, so if you're talking about draft now,
which I am. I'm talking about draft now, Jacob.
Yeah, so we were talking about sealed, and now I'm shifting to draft. I don't think that the mechanics for green are quite as deep as the mechanics for blue or white. I think that, we saw a couple sacrifice fodders, but that's really going to be more of a black thing. The landfall is awesome, but we only saw 2 creatures that can be aggressive with that.
Mm-hmm. One of them is uncommon, which makes it not reliable in draft.
You have your big teamy creatures, but you're not going to be able to reliably see those. I think green's going to be a less deep draft color.
Yeah. It might end up being the support color for the multicolor Converge and the multicolor Eldrazi. I think a lot of decks are going to want to be running 3 or more colors, and green has some of the mana fixing for that.
Yeah.
So a lot of decks are going to dip green. Not a lot of decks are going to main green. Unless you get your Plated Crusher in your first pick, and then you're the green person, and then you win because you played a 7/6 trample hexproof.
So the way I see it, if you actually want to be able to reliably get the rest of your colors, you're going to be playing these green spells that give you access to extra colors. And you're going to be playing Lifespring Druid that taps for 1 of any color. And that's going to require you're going to play Natural Connection, which searches for a basic land in your library and puts it in the battlefield. And if I'm playing those cards, I want to be base green. Greens, you're not going to be splashing green so you can also splash another color.
Yeah.
You're going to be base green, and that's going to enable you to play the Converge deck. And I guess the Converge deck's kind of weak, for my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's cards with... I don't think Converge is a deck. I think Converge is just a mechanic that's showed up on a couple cards. I don't think you could reasonably build a deck with Converge as the core mechanic. I think you're going to build your other decks, and then Converge will fit in there somewhere.
We'll see what happens with Oath of Gatewatch, though.
Yeah.
Got some flavor reasons why that might be a bigger player in Oath of Gatewatch.
I want to see all the Planeswalkers, the Magic Origins Planeswalkers, I want to see them form a Voltron. Like a big... every color Planeswalker that's like... I'm not going to stop talking about
I want them to summon the power of Earth, Fire, Water.
Wind
and Heart.
Yes. And then make Captain Planet.
A.K.A. Ugin.
Yeah. Ugin's kind of a jerk. Plus, Ugin needs to shave that little beard thing he's got going. I saw a high-res picture of him. He's got like a weird little like pencil beard.
Okay, but which other Planeswalker would be Captain Planet?
Nicol Bolas.
He's only Grixis colors, though.
Yeah.
He needs to have one for every color. And Ugin's colorless.
Yeah. Have there been any 5-color Planeswalkers?
Not that I know of. I mean, unless you... There's 5-color legendary creatures if you want to have, like, Sliver Hivelord be the Captain Planet.
Which I do.
Yes, that's the casual player's dream right there. It's like, my Sliver Hivelord is not the savior of the universe.
All right, we are getting
we are
very
off
topic. Guys, girls, robots, anything that isn't any of those, thank you for listening. This has been another episode of The Pro Show. Colin and Jacob, you guys have a nice day.
And we will see you for next episode when we discuss Red.
Yep. Bye.